Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing, the podcast that supports the UK manufacturing sector. Hosted by Jeff Beacham, the manufacturer's recruiter.
Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing. In an interesting turn of events, this episode will be hosted by myself, Jon Cox, and none other than our very own Jeff Beacham will be under the spotlight. Jeff, welcome.
Hi, John. It's good for us to get together, particularly now we're joint venture partners as well. So it's these leadership podcasts are very exciting.
I'm looking forward to giving you a grilling here. It's normally the other way around, so I hope you're sitting comfortable.
I am indeed. So
let's jump in. Jeff, I've known you for a while now, but for those who've not met you or don't know you, who is Jeff Beacham?
Great question. I suppose I've been finding that out over the last probably 20 years or so. Yeah, I live in Birmingham. I'm 54 next year. This is the 25th year of my recruitment career. I'm a family man. Live with my wife Sharon and Chris Beacham, who works for me. And yes, I think they say recruitment is lots of ups and downs, champagnes and razor blades. So I suppose I must be partly mad to still be, operating within recruitment after nearly 25 years. But it's what I enjoy doing, being around people. So yeah.
Some would say partly mad. Some would say maybe a little bit more.
Maybe fully. Who knows?
So Jeff, tell me the interesting facts about you that not a lot of people know.
Oh. Interesting fact, crikey. There's probably loads, but it's not something I think about that often. Well, here's one that very, very few people will know, and that is that my first name isn't actually Jeff, it's Jefferson. So for whatever reason, my dad chose to name me after an American president, and it always annoyed me at school because the teachers used to call me Jefferson, and it was like a long name. So I sort of ditched that pretty much after primary school. And yeah, other than if you to have a look at my passport, most people wouldn't know that.
You still get called Jefferson by the parents when you're in trouble?
No, my dad. Well, I'm never in trouble with my dad usually anyway. Mum's no longer with us, but yeah, up until seven years ago when she passed away, if she was a little bit miffed at me for whatever reason, even in my adult life, yes, I would get that Jefferson in a Bristolian accent. So yeah, nobody calls me Jefferson. I don't answer to Jefferson. So if anybody wants a response from me, definitely do not call me that.
What about Mr. President?
No, call somebody else. If you've got a major disaster, don't call me. Unless it's a major hiring disaster at executive level, then of course call me.
Okay, so you're not going to be the president. That's fine. Just so we're clear.
Absolutely right.
So what made you decide to specialize in senior executive search in the manufacturing and engineering sectors?
Yeah, well, it's really been a sort of continuation of my recruitment career, John, to be fair. I mean, I started off way back in the last millennium in 1999 in my first recruitment role, dealing with shop floor temporary labour. That's where I sort of cut my teeth in manufacturing and engineering and also distribution. And I spent probably 6 or 7 years in that space and then progressed to supplying engineers, then moved into permanent placements, then into the sort of lower level management roles. And then I moved to a search firm. My search firm was probably about 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And I've been operating at that sort of level ever since, sort of managerial and executive recruitment. And it's an interesting question why. It was part of the continuation of that journey. I think I always wanted to get to executive recruitment level. And I'm so glad that I made that sort of jump, if you like. It's a totally different skill set. I've been headhunting now for about the last sort of 7 years. The headhunting process is totally different. But I really love the fact that I started out at shop floor recruitment level, because now when I'm talking to leaders about some of the challenges that they have in their factories, I understand it at a level where I know the roles that their managers are doing. I also understand and have recruited for the roles that their managers' staff, i.e. the engineers and shop floor supervisors, have been doing. And I know all about the processes on the shop floor as well. So I think putting all of that together, I think gives me a very well-rounded appreciation of how factories operate. And you don't often get that with some consultants or search firms that have only ever been used to boardroom recruitment, or the sort of language and processes that you normally would discuss in a conversation about leadership. They're different skill sets.
That's a real rich depth of knowledge there, isn't it? A real quality of understanding at a deeper level than you'd normally expect to find.
Yeah, I think so, and that's I think that's one of the value adds of clients that that partner with me for their searches is that sort of deep experience and understanding, really.
So, what does it take to be a success in executive search, and what does success look like to you?
Oh, that's always a good question. I've seen that very question on LinkedIn so many times over the years. The top 7 things of successful people. What makes somebody successful? Well, in true Jeff style, success for me is first and foremost being able to provide the winning solution for my clients. But really, success is about how I go about that and the long-term benefits and difference that I've made to my clients' businesses and also to the candidates that I interact with. And from a business person's point of view, success for me has never ever been about how much turnover, how much money can I make, the size of a commission check. It's never been about that. It's been about being able to sleep in my bed at night knowing that I've done the absolutely best job that I could. I've got the right results for the stakeholders, the clients and candidates, regardless of whether that was a fairly pain-free search, and they are quite rare, or whether it's been one that's been a real challenge. It's about reflecting and really feeling, and I'm sincere in that, it's really feeling the impact that I've had on the candidate's career, their sort of position in life, and the things that they want to achieve through their work, and really making a difference to the client's business. Because that, for them to partner with me in the first place, something's either gone quite wrong in the past, or they need specific help from candidates from outside of the business that can either turn around their organization or enable them to make that step up to the next level. And I think it's easy for any recruiter to sit back and think, well, yeah, place that person. I've dealt with this business, I've dealt with that business. And because it's quite a frantic environment sometimes, I think a lot of recruiters don't always give themselves the credit that they deserve, and maybe don't reflect as much on what they've done, how they did it, and the happy smiling faces that they get each and every time they go back to their clients and candidates to check on progress and how are things going. Oh, well, great, Jeff, it's amazing, I'm so glad that we worked together on this role. I've got the role that I'd wanted for a few years. Clients come back to you. So periodically I actually like to reflect backwards on what I've done, who I've done it for, and to follow companies. I quite often follow clients from the sidelines, as well as speaking to them and catching up with them periodically. I will always be watching clients, how they're getting on, are they winning awards, are they growing, and I genuinely feel that I've had a small part to play, albeit in the background, for that organization. But every time I hear about something amazing at one of my clients, I just get that feeling of satisfaction and worth and value that what I've chosen to do with my career is having an impact. And for me, that's what success looks like.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the human element. I love it. It's about people. It's about connections. It's about doing the right thing the right way to get the right results, which we talk about a lot of the time. I was talking with one of your clients just last week, actually, and they've known you for many, many years. And the way he was talking about you, it was almost like he was talking about a friend, someone that he genuinely enjoyed talking to and working with, and cheekily picked your brain for information and help and support outside of the recruiting element to kind of really get more value from the relationship, because he deeply respected what you did and how you do it. So I love that real kind of bond and relationship that you're building there, inside and outside of kind of the working environment of some of these people. So what I'd like to ask you, so without giving away too much, don't give away your special sauce recipe. How do you match candidates and clients so successfully?
Okay, well, there's a
special sauce.
Yeah.
So if people want to work with you, if they want all of this, they've got to buy into Jeff Beacham.
Not going to give it all away for free. That's for sure. Well, I think I always go back to recruitment shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be rocket science, and it isn't rocket science. But there are a number of I think non-negotiables that you need to have as part of the criteria, part of the process, part of the relationship, when you're working for a client on a search. But this really, I think, should be applicable to any sort of recruitment in any industry at any level. So I really have a huge bee in my bonnet about understanding the brief. I've spoken about this before on LinkedIn. And so for me, understanding is such a key part of the process. Anybody could receive a job description from a business, have a look at it, go onto a database, match a few keywords. Bob's your uncle. You've got a few people churned out on the Boolean search that a lot of recruiters will do, and to a degree that works. But bearing in mind that the recruitment that I do these days, so it's managerial and executive recruitment. So quite often these search assignments, these mandates that I'm given by my clients could be literally business critical. So for me, it's all about not cutting any corners. It's about understanding your client before you've even discussed what the solution might be. There's no good just agreeing to work with them and agreeing to yes, I can search for that person for you. Well, you got to pick behind that to begin with and understand the situation that they're in. Is it the real situation? Because there are organizations out there and leaders in organizations that will not tell you the full story. But really, that's a false economy, because unless as the executive recruitment partner to that business, unless you fully understand the reasons why they're going to market in the first place, and unless you've got a warts and all appreciation of not just the key criteria of what they want, what they're looking for, but again, it's understanding the impact that person that you need to go and search for is going to have on that business, on the specific team that person's going to go into. You've got to, it's not all about skills matching with leadership. It's very much often about, leadership style, company culture. What is the mission? What are the values of that business? What is the vision of the CEO? So it's really a mixture of all those things, and that might sound very generic and quite easy, quite simple in as a sort of overview, but it really is about not just being happy with a 50% match, a 60% match, a 70% match. I think there's a lot of mediocrity in recruitment, and I've also seen it on the client side as well. Some businesses will hire because they're panicked into making a hire for different reasons, and that's probably a good topic for another podcast at some point. But I think you've got to stick to your process. You've got to let the process run for the duration. And with what I do, it's normally a 6-week process from commencement of the assignment to me delivering a shortlist of CVs to the client. So there's no good cutting corners. You've got to get in and under the skin of that client and almost find out all the dirty business. What things have been going wrong. What are you trying to achieve? What's the quickest route for you to get to your next stage with the business? And then start looking at, this is what you've told me that you want. But then asking them some, fairly awkward or difficult questions at times. You're telling me you want X, Y, Z, but what about this? You've explained that you've had these issues. Well, how about this? How about that? It's not just accepting carte blanche what your client is telling you that they need, and it might well be that they're absolutely 100% right. That's not always the case. So it really is about listening. That's critical with this, because I might have an idea as to what the client might need. They're telling me what they might need, but it's also about listening for what they're not saying. Sometimes you've got to do a little bit of reading between the lines. And you'll know this from coaching, John. It's not all about what's in the current line of communication. It's what's not being said, and why is that not being said? I would have expected that client
that's where your depth of
me.
knowledge really comes in. You know what you're looking for. You know the gaps you're looking for. You know what you're not being told as much as what you are being told, which triggers a different line of question and thinking. I've loved talking to you about this before, and the fact you do try to do things differently. Different results are only ever achieved from doing things differently, in a different approach and a different way of doing things. Bringing in candidates that bring something different they didn't even realize they needed to the role. That for me is exciting. They know what they expect, X, Y, Z, but you're actually bringing an ABC at the same time, changing their thinking and looking further ahead maybe than they are in their recruitment process or their company's curve of growth or development. You're bringing someone in that can actually change that pretty dramatically. I mean, that's quite exciting. So why do you think your clients choose Authentica Resourcing for senior candidate placement? I see this and I see how you do it, and I see the great work you're doing placing the candidates and matching it. But why do you think so? I'm about to go into the market now. Why would I be choosing you?
That's a great question, John, and I can answer that partly from feedback I've had from clients. Part of the reason why they choose me is because of my depth of experience, the length of time that I've been operating within manufacturing and engineering. That's part of the criteria. The other criteria, and I've been told this on many occasions, is that people, and this is whether it's a client or a candidate, actually, people warm to me and do get that feeling that what I'm saying and the way I'm going about my business and how I'm articulating to them and making them feel as though I not only get what they're trying to achieve and what they're saying, but I give them this sense of confidence that I do properly understand their business, the circumstances, and I will not rest until I've delivered on that search assignment for the right reasons. And I'm pretty well known for that. People that know me, people that have worked with me in the past as clients or as candidates, people, ex-colleagues that have worked for me or with me in recruitment, they'll tell you a few things about Jeff Beacham. Most of them will be good, but they will certainly tell you that Jeff wears his heart on his sleeve and he knows his stuff. He knows manufacturing and engineering. And yeah, I've got a heart, but I also I want to do the right thing. I want to do the things that are going to get the right results in the right time frame for that client, because each client and each client's circumstances are different. But I'll be relentless in achieving a successful outcome on the search. But what I won't do, and I absolutely want to make this clear, and people that know me will absolutely know that I've got to be in my bonnet about this. I will not work on an assignment if I've got to do things that aren't the right thing. I'm not going to cut corners off. I'm not going to try and shoehorn people into roles that I don't think are quite right. If I think clients are being unethical, then I will shy away from those as well. This isn't all about money for me. This is my business. I've got a reputation, and I'm fairly outspoken about most things in business and most things in life, actually. So again, including not having anchovies on a pizza, John. Just saying.
We'll get to that. That's one of the important questions later.
But yeah, people know that I do stick to my values, and so I think they like that authenticity about me. That was probably the reason that tipped me over the scales when I was trying to come up with a name for this business 4 years ago. And I was sort of thinking back, even back then, well, what have clients thought about me in the past? They know they're going to get Jeff. They know what you see is what you get. I'm trustworthy. I operate totally confidentially. I've always got the client's best interest at heart and the candidates. It's not just about a money-making thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people in recruitment see it as a big cash register, and what their behaviors, or some of their behaviors, aren't always aligned to what's best for the client and the candidate. So I think that plays a huge part in why businesses like to work with me. I'm straight talking. I do things for the right reasons. I get results, and I really want to. I want to sit back after I've delivered that successful search, and then be talking to that client for months and years ahead. It's not just a quick win. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question for you.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's your values, it's the trust and relationship building you bring to the table that is very different. And that, for me, I've dealt with a lot of recruiters, resources, call them as you will, in my time, and the good ones are like gold dust, and there is so much sand out there between it that it's really difficult to pick the good ones out of it. And trust and relationships are really important to me, and that's really why the joint venture that we set up recently to bring the worlds of executive search and coaching and mentoring together is so exciting. I've been approached before to do this sort of thing, but I've never had that connection or that belief in the person I was talking to that it's something that would work. Someone with the right morals, doing it the right way, and we keep each other honest, we keep each other on straight. But I've not seen any hint at all that there's anything but an absolute straight line that you work in, and it's always making sure it's the best for the client and the best for the candidates. And that, for me, is what the foundation of it is. So what was your motivation for that link up that we've started?
Yeah, crikey. I mean, it seems like so long ago, John, because we met last year online on LinkedIn, built up a great relationship, and we continued talking over a number of months. And I'd already had an appetite for adding more services to the offering of Authentica Resourcing, and I've thought for many years actually that there's a fantastic opportunity for search firms and exec coaches to work together more closely. I know that they do. I know some big search firms have their own, they have people in there that are coaches as well, and they will, lend that expertise to their clients. But for the vast majority of recruiters out there, they will do their thing, and their clients have probably got coaches, mentors, and other service providers, and none of it's joined up. So if you've got a company, if you've got a business that's either broken or it's slipping down and it's gonna go bump at some point, or there are changes, transformations, restructures, growth plans, whatever it might be, where you've got needs for high-end hiring, executive recruitment, managerial recruitment, but there's also going to be some form of development needs as well. I've thought for ages that it just makes sense for businesses to have a relationship with not just a recruitment business over here and an executive coach over there, but let's join this whole thing up. So you've got three parties there working in tandem for the common aim. So as you said, John, it was a no-brainer to get together with a really good executive coach and mentor, and it's just really given Authentica Resourcing the capability of providing some additional and more structured onboarding for clients, and this is within the Authentica Resourcing Executive Platinum Service. So onboarding, yes, I've always kept close to candidates and clients. Once that offer's been made, through the resignation process, through the notice period, and have regular checkups on day one, week one, month one, and then I'll keep in contact over a period of months anyway. I've always done that and always would. But that's not the same as taking a coaching and mentoring approach to onboarding. So it's an additional level of confidence for the clients and for the candidates that they're going to get not just a great service, because I always give a great service, but they're getting something extra. And this is why we've called it Executive Platinum. It really is going over and above what I think is the norm out there in the industry. I think probably 80, if we use Pareto, probably 80% of successful placements probably could benefit from a little bit more if there was a little bit more to give. So with that bit of coaching and mentoring, it really is sort of supercharging the process once that candidate's joined the business. And also there's that sort of option of helping to develop existing board members or managers within that business. So if we've got a client relationship, it's not just about what happens on a search. You can provide that sort of onboarding expertise, but there's also, there's always development work to be done, isn't there, John, within a business, so it just made perfect sense. It was a marriage made in heaven, strawberries and cream, pizza and beer, exec recruiting, exec search, and executive coaching. Why isn't everybody doing it?
I mean, Jeff, yeah, I love it. This goes back into your values, your morals, wanting to add more, wanting to be more and help more at every part of it, at every stage. I know you do a lot of work with candidates before they're placed to help them and to help find places for some candidates. I know you like to see them and help with their growth and development. But this is about adding value at every stage, isn't it? It is about, before they join a company, helping them, making sure they're in the right place and that they're going for the right sort of roles. It's about helping onboard them, which helps them and helps the companies as well to make sure they've got these people coming in and they're making decisions and they're able to fire on all cylinders from the first week rather than maybe the first month or the second month. So you're getting an instant result from who you're bringing in. They've got that safe space to question and challenge themselves and the business. Because, a lot of us go into a business and we expect to know everything, or we expect of ourselves to know everything. Of course, we don't.
Yeah.
So then when we don't, we tend to shy away from asking those questions for fear of maybe feeling silly or stupid or less than what we were hired to be. So having a coach or mentor there in the background helps us to have that as part of the onboarding, which massively helps the companies with their retention. And that for me is the other exciting bit here, is keeping that candidate growing and developing. You are offering to them a growth package as well as employment. And who would not leave a role to jump into a company that's offering that sort of support? So you are growing them and you are retaining them. And as you said as well, not just for the candidates that are coming in, it's for the whole board. Why are we giving preferential treatment to the new person that comes in? Why isn't everyone having that growth and that challenge and that space to be more and to deliver more? So it's just a natural bedfellow, as you say. It's every part, every stage, help and support. It's the whole life journey of an individual before into the business, staying in the business, growing through the business, running the business, and then recruiting back into their role potentially. So it
Yeah.
all just, it's a lovely ecosystem of help and support. And I think that's what I love. It is about helping people. What do we do for a living? We help people. We try to solve solutions. We try to bring solutions and solve problems. What's not to love?
Well, that was part of. I only realised this after we'd been talking for quite some time that one of the main things about your business, your whole ethos and your why is pretty much the same as mine. We both genuinely, authentically want to make a difference, and that was when that penny dropped. I knew you and I were on the track of this is going to lead somewhere. Didn't know what that was at that point, but it just felt like there was great alignment. So, and as you said, I'd had talks with a few coaches, exec coaches in the past, and that they're all very good. They're all very nice people, but there was something a little bit extra with you.
I've been called that often.
Sorry,
I've been called that often. I'm a little bit extra.
a bit extra. Yeah. Well, is it extra or over the top? I don't know. Value add, John. Let's use value add. That's the one. But you aligned with my background. The fact that you've worked for industrial businesses, manufacturing, so understanding that side of things.
Very much.
Whilst you don't necessarily need that to be a coach, I wanted to align myself with an exec coach that came with that added extra.
That's what allows the mentoring side to be so deep.
Yeah.
Having, as I've mentioned before, 20 plus years of board level experience. And the vast majority of that has been in manufacturing companies. Yeah. And I've worked my way through those companies up through to direct shipping to board level and running them. So I pretty much like yourself, I understand from the grassroots where some of these problems are happening. I've fallen over myself in those places. I've got up from those places. I've jumped forward from those places. So you can talk a different language and ask different questions, knowing how to dig to get the right sort of answers and solutions from people.
Yeah.
And UK manufacturing at the moment, it's going through some tough times or exciting times. What would you say?
Well, I think a bit of both. I mean, most people will be aware of what we've just come through in terms of Brexit, COVID. We got the war in Ukraine. We've had materials prices going through the roof, energy costs, skills shortages, you name it. It's been thrown at UK manufacturing. However, and yes, it's not always a bed of roses, but it's certainly not the picture that you would generally find tuning into mainstream media. So if you're going to watch the news and think you've got a good measuring stick of where UK manufacturing is, you're probably not in the right world, because mainstream media will only really focus on the big stories, the really, really huge employers, because they like to sensationalize everything. So they're going to want to publicize, the bigger companies that have got, if they're opening a new place, they might have thousands of jobs on offer, rather than, an SME down the road who's hiring 5 people, but they only employed 30 in the first place. That, to me, that's groundbreaking for that business. But we don't get to hear about that,
isn't it?
Yeah,
they are helping their community and local as well. It's not just about a national thing. That is those 5 new people. It's their families. It's the shops and the schools and everything around. That whole infrastructure is all growing alongside it. So every success is a success.
It is, and but there's lots of exciting things happening in manufacturing at the moment. I mean, yes, we have got a skills shortage, but there are some fantastic opportunities with apprenticeships. We've got degree apprenticeships, T-levels, all these sort of things. And whilst a lot of people are saying we haven't got the skills that we need in this country, we haven't got enough. We haven't got enough apprenticeships coming through, or apprentices coming through. The message is slowly getting out there that we do manufacture in the UK. We're actually number 8, I think, globally in terms of manufacturing output. I'd love us to be a lot higher, but that's where we are. But there's a bit of momentum building now in terms of addressing this outdated notion of what manufacturing actually is. I'm sure if a lot of people went down the pub and asked somebody, what do people do in manufacturing? They're like, oh, working in some dirty, oily factory somewhere, But okay, there are some processes that are, a little bit dirty. It's heavy engineering, but a lot of manufacturing these days is high. It's highly advanced. There's a lot of automated equipment involved, and particularly if you went into somewhere like automotive or food manufacturing, you could almost eat your sandwiches off the shop floor. It's totally changed. So there's a lot of opportunity to spread the word, get more youngsters into manufacturing, but also just balancing the challenges that the industry has faced over the last few years, balancing that with the opportunities that we have. We've got a lot of new technologies coming through that have already been in development for a number of years, but you've got things like artificial intelligence. That's going to be having an even bigger impact on all of us in no time at all. But the adoption of AI into manufacturing, it's going to be interesting to see where that's going to lead us, in fact. But we've got AI, we've got automation, we've got robotics. There are other new processes that have been around for some time that are becoming more mainstream in terms of volume production, things like additive manufacturing, 3D printing. So there's loads of new things. There's loads of exciting technologies. I mean, for crying out loud, we're making things in the UK that are going into space. The world's changed. It's not just some smog-ridden area where factories are just billowing out loads of smoke, and the days of the workhouses have gone.
It's not Peaky Blinders, is it?
It's not Peaky Blinders. Wake up, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Modern manufacturing is highly skilled in many respects. So if you're interested in a career, manufacturing is one of the sectors that pays more than quite a few others. That the wages are good in manufacturing at shop floor level, and you don't have to always work in the factory. You can become a company director, you can own your own business, you can run teams of people. So, if you've got aspirations to be a business leader, you can do that in manufacturing. You don't have to stay in the shop floor forever. So, there's wonderful opportunities. And even with, after Brexit, that's created a bit of a black cloud for a lot of people. I actually voted for it, but that was more of a principled thing. And more of a, we need to be making our own decisions rather than being told what to do by Brussels. But it has created a few bumps in the road, but there are still huge and wonderful opportunities globally for the UK and for UK manufacturing to trade. We need incoming trade, but we need to be exporting more as well. So manufacturing is thriving. It really is. Some companies are struggling. The ones that aren't changing, obviously, they're going to be struggling because for you to get a different result, sometimes you need to change something. But a lot of manufacturing, just through the nature of what manufacturers do, manufacturers are innovative. They will engineer solutions and they will find a way. So it's a thriving industry. It really, really is. And I'm so glad, I'm so proud to be part of the UK manufacturing sector through the work that I do, the work that I've done for nearly 25 years, providing, shop floor workers in factories, and the last sort of 10 years or so, managerial and leadership candidates into businesses that can help those businesses improve, get better, grow, survive in some cases. I'm just doing my little bit in the background, but you can see the smiles coming on my face just talking about manufacturing. I've got a real passion
there,
for
isn't it? The
passion
is there.
Absolutely.
So obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, and we've talked about AI, but what other emerging trends do you see that have the potential to kind of change or disrupt the UK market? Because it is a time of change, and the quicker technology gets, the more advanced it gets, the more advanced it gets. So it's there's been a massive explosion of AI and the implementation of that in pretty much every sector and every industry.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a continued area of growth, or do you see anything else coming in that may disrupt more?
I'm not sure about seeing anything that's going to disrupt it more than AI, because that's pretty big, right? I'm not sure where it's going to go. There are a lot more people out in there in the world that are more learned than I am, and they might have an idea of where AI might take manufacturing. But what I do know is the doors have been opened now. Pandora's box has been opened, and there is no way back. I think as long as the people in those positions to have some sort of control over how much AI is used and what it's used for, because there's some really, really good things and benefits for AI, but it's like with anything else, there can be a dark side as well. Some of it is not going to be used for the right things. It's not going to be used for the right reasons. It will be used for bad rather than good. So we do.
It's like any tool, isn't it? It's only as good or as powerful as the hands that wield it.
It is,
so,
but I think it will help manufacturing over the longer term. It will help the planet. It will help us humans figure out better ways of doing things, I think. But outside of AI, we've as I said earlier, we've been on a journey of introducing automation and robotics for a few decades now, but there's still so much that needs to be done on that. We're still way behind a lot of the other advanced, industrial nations. We are way behind. So, coupled with the fact that we do lack some skills, I think there needs to be a bigger adoption of automation and robotics in manufacturing. So there are lots of opportunities there.
A point you've mentioned several times is the lack of skills in the industry. How can we be attracting more young talent or fresh talent into manufacturing in the UK? Because that's surely got to be the key to any company's forward plans, any vision, or any kind of growth elements. Got to be some element of bringing in fresh blood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd always advise businesses to grow their own, wherever possible, and grow as many as you can. But in terms of how are we going to attract more people in it? That is a question that's cropped up on a daily basis with most of the people I've spoken to over the last 3 or 4 years. I think there's a number of issues there. Firstly, we talked about it earlier, and that's the outdated impression of manufacturing. What do people perceive manufacturing as? That's being tackled with that. People. There's a lot of great people in UK manufacturing. You see them on LinkedIn all the time. You're sort of Andrea Wilsons of this world. You got the guys at Make UK, people like Mark Weymouth, Chris Greeno. Loads of people are helping to shout out about UK manufacturing and change these outdated ideas. So that's one of the ones is getting the parents of youngsters to actually understand what manufacturing is in the UK, because that's half the battle, because then you will get more parents maybe advocating that their kids consider a STEM career rather than trying to put them off, because there are so many people that will, you want to do good at school, because if you don't, you'll end up in a factory. What the hell's that about? Factory workers get really, really good money. It's more rewarding than probably, working in a shop. Okay, it might not be for everybody, but we need to educate the parents. Second thing is the schools. I've never been a fan of schools, I have to say, since I was at school. But schools, in my opinion, other opinions are, of course, also available, but I think that the schools aren't doing anywhere near what they should to help kids prepare for what comes after school. What schools are going to be talking about manufacturing these days? Schools, I think, are more interested in their Ofsted results and the grades rather than being more holistic in terms of what options are available to kids. So I think the schools need a really big kick up the backside from the education secretary and from industry. I think manufacturers, I think, need to reach out and collaborate with schools a little bit more. I know they do it, but they don't all do it, and there is a lot more to be done there. So I think there's some bridge building there to be done. There's signposting to great careers. So we got the parents, we got the schools, and I think we need a few people to be ambassadors for manufacturing to the youngsters. it's so good. It's okay. The likes of me, you know, a 53-year-old who's got a few chins and grey hair to be bigging up manufacturing. But I think we need to get down with the kids, and we need to get some youngsters or some people, you know, probably a third of my age, out there. We need some influencers on the scene, don't we? We need some people that have got good followings on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it might be. Kids that can represent youngsters a little bit more. Apprentices do a fantastic job of telling other youngsters about what they're doing with their apprenticeship. But they're probably wrapped up in, you know, they're concentrating on their apprenticeship, and they're in that learning process. What we need are some individuals that are prepared and motivated enough to put their neck on the block and go, right, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to promote UK manufacturing. So my question is to the big wide world of people out there in the UK at the moment: who is going to be an influencer for UK manufacturing? You know, we need some people that have left school, that have gone into manufacturing, and started a manufacturing career. We need some 20 and 30-year-olds who are later on down that path to then go, look, this is what I've done with my life since coming into UK manufacturing. But these people need to be, they need to be comfortable with getting out there, putting their face out there, and getting on all these platforms, but they've got to have a passion for promoting it. What we don't need are people that are just going to be taking selfies, like all these bloody influencers everywhere. You see them on the trains, you see them when you go on holiday. They're just sucking up to the camera for the sake of it. It's all about me, me, me. Well, we need some proper influencers for the right reason, who are going to, you know, build some bridges with the schools, with the kids, but people that aren't like my age, or even Christopher's age. Chris Beacham's 25. You know, we need some people like that have been through manufacturing, but we need some young, fresh-faced teens, I guess, and people that have just left school or college with a personality that really want to, you know, maybe have a career in manufacturing, but also a secondary gig or a secondary career as a UK manufacturing influencer. Forget the likes of Greg Wallace. Inside the Factory is a great program, but he's not what we need. We need some youngsters really getting out there and carrying that baton, shining the torch, leading the way in their own way. I'm not going to be great at communicating with 18-year-olds or 14-year-olds at school. I'm too old. I'm too old and crusty. My jokes aren't even funny. They're not even funny to my own son, you know, and I'm always telling him I'm the funniest man he's ever going to meet. It's not going to work. So we need some youngsters that have got that bit of, yeah, I'd love to be in front of the camera and tell people about this and that, but that are also authentically passionate about manufacturing. That's what we need.
What about the other end of the scale, though? What about in government?
Well, you know, that's a drum that's been bashed for, you know, the last few years. I mentioned Andrea Wilson earlier in the podcast. We need a minister for manufacturing, and this is something that Andrea has been campaigning for the last 2 or 3 years. Andrea, for anybody that doesn't know, is a director at Honal Precision down in Leighton Buzzard, which is a subcontract machining business. But Andrea is just so passionate about UK manufacturing. I could probably reel off, you know, another dozen people that you will see on LinkedIn regularly that have got the same thoughts about, you know, SMEs in particular, because they're 99% of the economy, and in manufacturing, it's all about SMEs. We need to support them more. There is support out there, but it's not always the right type of support. It's not signposted. But we do need, without being too political, we do need a government, whoever's in government, and let's just talk about, you know, politicians in general, whether you're in cabinet or not. Open your eyes to what's going on in manufacturing, please, Mr. and Mrs. Politicians. UK manufacturing, you know, we're about 20-something% of UK GDP. You know, we are great at exporting, but we could be doing so much more with the right support. So, you know, we need to be making things in this country, because if we didn't, service industries, and we've seen this recently with Brexit and everything else, people can just, now that the world's gone digital, you can pick up a service and plot that in another country halfway around the world. You can't do that with manufacturing. We need products in the UK. If we were in a situation like those poor Ukrainians are at the moment, where there's a war going on, if we're not making stuff here, and we're an island, let's all remember that the UK is an island. Okay, so if we were cut off, what are we going to do if we can't make anything anymore because we've let industry just slump? The skills have been lost. How the hell are we going to survive? We'll probably forget we'll forget the skills in terms of growing crops and raising cattle. Everybody's anti-beef these days anyway, so we'll probably forget about cattle farming before much longer. But the point I'm making is we need to be more self-sufficient in the UK. So please, government and who else is in the know and got the power to do things about it, support UK manufacturing, because we need it as an island, as an economy, as a country. We need it for jobs. We need it for people. What are people going to do in 50 years' time? Just sit there in their houses, just on a laptop or through telekinesis or something? We need to be doing stuff. We need to be making stuff. That's what humans do. So yeah, I'm just rambling now because you've got me on it now, John. You know where those nerve endings are, and you've been tickling them, but you've snapped one of them off now, and I'm on it. So yeah,
it's my own fault, Jeff. I did say I was going to go easy on you. I sort of pulled it into politics at the end.
Yes,
there is one other very serious question we need to cover, and this is kind of what our relationship's been built upon, and our joint venture's been built upon. It's about honesty. It's about trust, and it's about, should you have pineapple on pizza or not?
Right. Okay.
Take your time, Jeff. Take your time. Just don't rush this one, because this is quite important.
This is the part of the podcast, as you say. This should be serious. I'm actually going to put my reading glasses on. Just
glasses on, please.
People don't normally see me like this.
There we go.
There you go. So, just so that I can look a little bit more serious. Pineapple, whilst I like pineapple, I could eat pineapple on a pizza. You shouldn't allow people to put pineapple on a pizza. But the demon's pizza topping has got to be anchovy. It's the devil's food. I don't mind anchovy in a pasta sauce. Please stop putting fish on pizzas.
Jeff, I had a bit of a tough experience earlier today. I'm not going to lie to you about it. Me, by the way, pizza, pineapple, I'm a fan. I don't mind. I'm probably an advocate for it. So I'm not on the fence. I'm actually a straight up yes. Yeah, someone had beans and peas. I mean, baked beans and peas delivered from their local pizzeria to their house last night. Absolute truth. That's one of my connections on LinkedIn. How do you stand on baked beans and peas as the only toppings, as well as cheese, on pizza?
Baked beans, definitely no. I could probably eat a totally vegetarian pizza. I love spinach. I like rocket and things like that. Grilled courgettes. I could eat anything like that with some, proper mozzarella on a pizza. And in fact, I bet you if you went to Naples, some of the best pizzas they would be making for you would be very little other than the pizza bread itself, freshly made dough, and then a bit of marinara or tomato sauce,
yeah,
and then a little bit of cheese, a little bit of mozzarella. There'll probably be hardly anything else on it.
Little sprig of basil, just to finish it off. So you've got the colours of the
ripped
flag.
off, not cut.
That's it. Tear it. Nicely done. Well, look, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Insights for Manufacturing, I think, has learned a lot about Jeff Beacham. Hopefully, learned a little bit about pizza and everything else in between. So this is your host, Jon Cox, signing off with our special guest today, Jeff Beacham. Thank you for your time, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us, John. It's been a pleasure.